This is it. I've officially hit rock bottom. I feel so humiliated, like I failed on a spectacular global scale. For 3 years, my life was basically a highlight reel. I was the person my friends and family and you live vicariously through. One minute I was wandering through ancient cities, the next I was hiking breathtaking mountains or tasting foods I couldn't even pronounce. The plan, the whole time, was to eventually switch from backpacking to van life. I pictured myself waking up to a new backyard every week, coffee in hand, writing and working with the entire world as my office. This wasn't just some casual fantasy. I felt like it was my purpose. Every single decision, every dollar I saved was a step towards that campervan.
This will be ready in a month and a half.
It represented a life outside the normal script, a life of adventure and self-reliance. I wasn't just chasing a trend. I was building a life that I thought was authentically me. On the surface, it looked like I had everything figured out. I was independent, traveling the world, designing my own destiny. What I didn't see was that my whole identity was wrapped up in this one very specific and one very fragile dream. The dream of always being on the move. And when that dream shattered, it felt like I shattered right along with it. The fall didn't come all at once. It was a slow, grinding collapse, like watching a house of cards crumble, one card at a time. It began with the van. I bought it last spring while I was still in Canada. An idealistic purchase made possible by a friend of a friend. I poured thousands into it, believing the seller would transform this 1985 Dodge into the tiny home I'd imagined.
And we'll do all the body work, we'll paint it up, cut open the roof, install all that, like the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And then put in like a floor, and then the upper cabinet, and edge to the top, close it up nice. And then do whatever, down the road you can do whatever you want.
But when I finally got back to Canada a year later, the dream had already dissolved. What I got wasn't a home on wheels. It was a money pit, trapped in a cycle of mechanical failures that were never going to be fixed. I'd email him, hopefully asking, "How's she doing?" And each time, the reply came back. More work than we thought. Just a few more weeks. A whole year. A whole year of optimism, of trust, of waiting. Each email was another nail in the coffin of the life I thought I was building. I'm not sure if he was scared to tell me the truth, afraid I'd blame him, or that the van would fail me in the middle of nowhere. But I think at some level, he knew it was already too late, and so did I. At the exact same time, the freelance clients I had counted on for years, 8 years, just went quiet. The projects dried up. And to make matters even worse, the tenants who had been renting my condo, paying my mortgage, decided to move on to greener pastures. I'd never once stopped to appreciate this steady income until it was gone. Suddenly, the mortgage felt like a drain with no tap to fill it, and the savings I so carefully set aside started disappearing faster than I could process. Weeks, not months. The security I'd built my confidence around just dissolved. Letting go of the van deal hurt, but I knew I couldn't stretch myself across a mortgage and a new commitment when the ground had completely shifted beneath me. Coming back to my condo in Winnipeg felt like a retreat, like a total defeat. The home I owned wasn't a comfort anymore. It was a symbol of my failure. It was the very place I had been so desperate to escape. The familiar walls felt like a prison. The silence was just filled with self-doubt and shame. I'd scroll through my own social media, looking at pictures of my travels, and it felt like I was looking at a completely different person. Who is this broke, terrified person standing in a familiar apartment that now feels so alien? What happened to that fearless traveler? Hitting rock bottom brings this weird, painful clarity. You're forced to look at everything you thought was true and question it all. Days in that condo blurred together, each one a fresh wave of anxiety and regret. The other day, my best friend Kate dragged me out of the house, insisting that a walk would do me some good. We were window shopping downtown, not buying anything, just trying to feel normal. And then in the window of a small boutique, she saw a t-shirt, and on it were 5 simple words. What if it all worked out? We both just stopped. Kathy grabbed my arm and we both got tingles. It wasn't a lightning bolt of inspiration. It was more like a whisper of possibility. It stopped me in my tracks. For weeks, my mind had been trapped in a relentless spiraling loop of what ifs. What if my career is over? What if I would never recover financially? What if I made the biggest mistake of my life? Every thought was a worst case scenario. I had never, not for a single moment, considered the alternative. The question on that shirt felt so simple, so naively optimistic. It cut straight through the panic. It didn't magically fix my problems. Oh no. But for the first time in what felt like an eternity, it offered a completely different path for my thoughts to travel. So that's where I am now, standing at a new beginning. Armed with the new question, I'm still surrounded by the wreckage of my old dream, and I don't have a roadmap for what comes next. But instead of staring into the abyss of everything that could go wrong, I'm choosing to look at the possibilities of what could go right. This whole experience has forced me to let go of the person I thought I was supposed to be, so I can discover who I actually am. I have a feeling this journey of rebuilding is going to be where the real adventure is, and I want to share it with you. If you want to see what happens when you start from scratch, stick around. Thank you for being here at the beginning. Let's find out together what happens if it all works out.